Hello, welcome again for another session of Circle of Love and Happy New Year. Today we are going to be creating what I'm calling visionary pages. This is somewhat similar to the idea of vision boards, but I like to change the word from vision to visionary because I really like to put the focus on ourself. And a visionary is a person who has ideas that are coming from a place of wisdom and experience, and then aims and seeks to apply those ideas to new creations or new concepts. I really like that take on this project because it makes me feel like I'm a little bit not just more in control of my outcome, but also because sometimes it is helpful to acknowledge the road we've already traveled and include that and make space and make room for all of the lessons that we really have already learned. So don't throw those all out. They are really important. And we're going to talk a little bit about those today as well. Okay. Also, this project we are going to look at as a bit of a blueprint in a sense, which means, yes, kind of where we've been, yes, kind of where we are, and a little bit of where we want to go. So I think of that, some people call it a roadmap. I like to think of it as a blueprint of our lives or for our lives, because we, again, do have a say about that. It is not totally arbitrary. It is not just appear randomly. It has something to do with the work that we've put in and efforts we've made and dreams and hopes that we have. And it all kind of comes together and meshes to create this masterful blueprint. And speaking of masterful, I'm also going to invite you to think of yourselves as wise and experienced designers and drafters, as well as playful dreamers. We're going to take those both ideas and blend them together today. Okay. On that note, I want to show you this again, the supplies that I have very quickly. I have 2 pages of thick paper. Okay. And I have a glue stick, scissors. I also have a pencil, or you can use anything you want to write with today or draw with. It's fine. And I have some various magazines here, a variety of magazines. Okay. All right. We are going to get started. I want to also show really quickly my example. This is actually isn't completely finished. Later, I'm going to be adding the pop out elements that I wanted you to kind of get a vision for later. So I'll be using this for that. But for right now, what this is showing is a little bit of, more than anything, actually where I wanted to go, where I'm going, a bit of my future vision. The project, as I work on it today, and my introduction will include also more of where I've been. So sometimes I work in this kind of piecing together way. That's a bit of the creative process and creative brain. And as always, you are welcome to interpret any of this any way you feel inspired to, or any way that it makes better sense to you. Please, you have that artistic license. Okay, I'm going to start with my page in this landscape format. You can start portrait mode if you prefer. And what I'm going to ask you to do is draw out the blueprint of your life. How do you determine that? Actually, we're not going to put too much terrible thought into it. Sometimes thought stumps our creativity. We're just going to let our drawing or writing utensil travel around the page wherever it wants to go. So what I've done is I started on one end, and let me draw a little harder so you can see my line a little bit better. Okay. And I'm just moving in any spontaneous direction my hand feels like moving. This doesn't necessarily have to actually end up in our final page, but it is the idea that there has already been a history going on and developing, and that there have already been things. If this was a road or a path, there have already been things I'm going to maybe even call them lessons, experiences, memories that stick with us in very important and impactful ways. Okay. And we want to honor those. They are things that do make us up and that do travel with us and continue with us, even when we think that they do not, right? But we want to make room for those. They make us up. And here is kind of in my mind on my page, an area where I am going to continue on this journey, okay, on this path that leads off the page and will continue on again and again and again other times. And right now, this is the segment that I'm focusing on. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to assign years, you don't have to assign dates or times. But if that is something that makes sense to you and you think would be helpful in this project, go for it. Okay. So I speak very metaphorically and symbolically often, and I like to leave it often very vague like that so that, again, you bring in your own ideas and determinations about what direction to take this. Okay. So here, what I'm looking at is what I'm going to refer to as the blueprint of my life. Again, I don't need to get more technical about it than this, even though blueprints can be very technical. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to think in certain spaces and areas of this, what might be things that I want to make sure to honor and include space for in this page. Some of those things might be things that may have occurred in the past before today. Some of those things might be things that are currently going on. And some of those things might be things that you hope for or dream of in the future. Okay. So I'm going to take about 2 minutes right now to think about those things. And really, I want you to jot down the things that come to your mind right away. And if you start to get concerned about, well, where should I write it? Don't worry about it. The point is just that you write it. Okay. All right, here goes. You may still be writing. And if you are, keep going. I'm going to start sharing a little bit of what I've written. And I also want to point out that writing can be almost cyclical. You can start by writing some words that maybe in the beginning aren't exactly the words you're really looking for. But if you keep on writing and writing and writing new words or phrases, or partial words for that matter, or sentences, you might find that you start to get closer and closer to what you're really trying to say. To give you an example, I started out with the idea of my past in this area of the page. I put down challenges. I put down difficulties. That's just the first thing that came to my mind. That's where I was at that moment. I looked at this area of being maybe more like the present. I put down family. I'm having a strong focus on family right now and making that a priority in my life above all. I look here toward in this area more like the future. I put down dreams. Originally, that's what I wrote. And then I went back again here to the past. And I realized I started thinking of it in a different way. And I put down the word unknowns. And what I remember is how our past is filled so much also about the times when we didn't yet know. And now, in the current point moment, I put the word accomplishment for myself. Because back in the past, when I didn't know, I wasn't sure. And now I know, yes, I was able to accomplish the things I didn't think I could. So that led me now to a new word here for my future, which is new discoveries as well as realities. And I like the idea of being able to go way back to the beginning here and compare the word unknowns to the word realities. So I'm finding for myself a theme developing here between unknowns and realities. And it really makes me feel empowered. It makes me feel like I can see progress. It makes me feel like there is not just hope, but there is real possibility in the unknown as well. Okay. I like to share my ideas like this during this time, just to give someone who might be wondering, how do you develop these ideas? How do you grow your connections between your ideas? How do you play with your ideas? Because creativity is not linear. It doesn't mean you start neatly at one place and you end neatly at another. It kind of moves around randomly often, okay? All right. If you feel like you need to continue writing, please feel free to do that. I'm going to continue with my introduction for those who feel they're ready. So on this note, I'm going to set this aside. It doesn't mean I even have to stick to this plan right here on this page. No way. Anything is possible. But it is time now to start digging into your magazines and having all of these, or starting with all of these words in your mind. Dig into the magazines and start looking for images, for words, maybe even for backgrounds. And I say backgrounds because you might come across pages that have these large areas of texture or color. Those will be useful as well for our page today. So anything that stands out to you that's large like this, or even details, or individual images that could act as symbols or have meanings to you in some special way, you're going to collect. Okay. I'm going to take a moment to get that started here. And I think I'd like to use this page as a large area. But as you can see, I still have space over here. So I'm going to look at another page. Let's see. That has a large area of color or texture. And actually, this is a cover of a magazine, and I just really like that. I'm going to take that whole thing.
Cynthia?
Yes.
I did a thing for my just general layout to start with, because I had some major medical stuff this winter, and I've been doing a lot of processing. And here's what I did.
Let's see, I'm going to flash over right now to your screen. Let's take a look.
Can you see it?
Okay. I see some
Um,
lighting. Let me make you bigger on my screen so I can see you better. Give me 1 second.
okay.
There it is.
It's basically starting out with a lot of spaciousness of the unknown. You know, when we're children, we think we know everything, but of course we don't. And I wrote in there, mom, creative family, and then up above, wild child, and then playful dreamer, because that was about it for me. And then I added the pain and, sorry, oh, pain and courage and love, all these hearts running up and down the page, because we do that. We put it all out there. And then there's an image of a baby and a mom, and then a woman who's full out, spread her wings. And then there's me now, which is much more content and smiley. But I'm and I have family and embracing life, and a big one is happiness and healing of self. And I thought I'd show it just so that might give people ideas.
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing. I love that. Excellent work, and so personal and so specific and precise to you. And what a great snapshot, too, of your life journey.
Yeah, I think so. And I like using the pencil where you're holding it at the very end, so it's very loose and wiggly. It really brings that out. It opens you up and lets you go. I have some beautiful pictures here, but I will be honest, I don't know if I will be able to make it through the session. My back is not feeling so hot and it's messing me up. And if that's the case, I'll finish it and show it to you guys next time. But I
Thank
just wanted to let you know that, and let you know I really have the feeling of it. And my future is healing of self and happiness and embracing life. And very grateful for this group. It helps me. Even though I wasn't here, it helped me to know it was here. So thank
That's
you.
wonderful, Anastasia. Thank you so much for sharing. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
your
To
words.
all of you. Thank
Thank
you.
And I do hope you feel better soon, and I wish you the best when you're with your healing. Okay.
Thank you. I am doing immensely better. It's just, I mean, I had to do a big surgery of my low back and um, fix it up. But it was a big one. And so now it's just a matter of being patient and giving myself time and not pushing too hard.
Excellent. Well,
Those
thank
are
you for being here today, however long we were able to. Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you. And so I'm gonna mute myself and I'll stick around and I'll just be hanging.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go back to what I've had here. Oh, Jane Ellen, did you want to say something?
Yes, I'm shaking real bad today, so I used words. I wrote some, but I just wanted to show what mine looks like so far. Most of my life, I was just sort of swimming around seeking to give and wisdom, and then I wrote time to reflect on your journey and to appreciate how far you've come. And on here I say, a red hood waits, use your wings, heart and soul, take the scenic route, stay curious, love this life, be enough, be devoted, and be content, and be brave. Because I've had a lot of difficulties in my life, both physically and emotionally. And it it tended to make me appreciate now in my elder years that I can continue going and embracing the weirdness and making cool things.
Excellent. I love that.
Yeah, and knowing that my legacy and my love language is giving. So now that I used to not be able to give much, now I'm able to give, I think, more wisdom and joy by making things for people than I've ever been able to do.
Yay.
I used a lot of things. I wrote some things, but I used a lot of written things because my shaking is so bad today. But tortoise is sort of my symbol of having journeyed a long ways and a long time to gain some wisdom.
Excellent work, Jane Ellen. I love your ideas and your symbols. You are so great at finding those symbols too and putting those in there. I love that. But most of all, I love how you've discovered your new way of being able to have something to give, and you're using your creativity in that most precious way as a gift to others. So wonderful. Keep creating, and you are really good at it too, on top of it.
Well, thank you.
Yay. You're welcome. Thank you so much for sharing, Jane Ellen. I love what you have already, even how it's the black and white theme. It's so easy to be able to go in there now and just merge everything together with color or with whatever else you want to add to it. So that's awesome how you did that. Thank you for sharing. Thank you. Thank you.
Brief question. I can cover up the words and stuff that I wrote, right? That's not something.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as you can see, and I'm going to flash back over so you can see what I'm doing. So here I have all my writing and my, notes you saw earlier, and I'm just going to go right on top of that. So we don't necessarily have to see that. If later you want those words to show up in your page, then you can find the words either in the magazines already existing, or you can create those words using pieces of or letters, okay, from other words. So, and just kind of piece it together. If that's
I interrupted you.
yeah, totally fine. Totally fine. Good question. Excellent. So I see everyone is well on their way. What I'm going to do is I'm going to jump ahead a little bit here. And I'm going to go back to my original example, and I'm going to show you the things that I've already found here. And I also want you to notice that there's no visual map or visual road or visual blueprint that you can necessarily obviously notice here in this creation. It's really just something for me to know about and for me to think about as I'm working on this, and same for you. But what I am looking at here is these areas where there are these kinds of marks, like black marks. Those were kind of like tire marks. Those were the areas where my past, okay, those difficulties, those challenges, those unknowns, those kind of real fast turns and squeals. That's how it turned out represented in my creation here. And this building is kind of where I'm headed to, what my goal is right now, what I'm seeing in my future. And so this thing here, this lizard, is representing me, and me kind of moving through these stages or phases or places or zones. And I put the word quest because I started thinking about this journey, about this vision as a quest. And I like that. It helps me feel excited about it. It helps me get more inspired and energetic about it. And so it also helps me add an element of curiosity and wonder, which is what I added over here in this area. Okay. Now I talked about pop out elements earlier, and so I want to go back to that concept. What I mean by that is after you feel you've had an image kind of somewhat assembled, what you're going to want to, what if you want to add elements that do pop out or that give you more in-depth options, you might find spaces where there's room to add additional images or features. So right now I'm looking at this area right here, which is in between. It's kind of some sky, and then this is kind of like some mountainous kind of stuff over here. But it's kind of a space that's doesn't have anything that's extremely important to me right now. So that's an area where I have some space to add something. So I'm going to go in and I'm just going to trim myself up. Let's see here. I'm estimating, doing a little estimating, but I'm going to trim myself up a folded piece of paper like this. And I might have to use my pencil. So what I have here is this folded piece of paper that is currently slightly larger than this area. Okay. I'm gonna place it over that area, and I'm gonna come over here and trim. See this building, how it extends over here? I'm now going to trim like this and like this. Bring it down, and over here, I'm going to kind of trim like this because I want to include some of that building in there. I don't want to cover it up all the way. And I'm going to trim like this and like this and like this. Okay. So what I'm doing is I'm allowing this building to stay whole here. I'm going to come down. I'm estimating down to here. And I'm coming this way to allow this building also to stay whole here. All right. I'm going to trim that up with my scissors. These pop-out features can be used as hidden elements, or they can be thought of as ways to, again, go further in depth. Now, I did a first run at this trimming, and I'm noticing that this little area is kind of running into the building right here. So I'm going to actually go ahead and take this all the way off there. There we go. I feel better about that. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look for an image that goes on top of this that might be a good blending of these two spaces. Or maybe it's just another kind of random, like what if it was this piece of this leaf? It could really be anything. It doesn't have to make sense at all. Or it could make a lot of sense. Remember this that I pulled out earlier? I really like this. And because I just keep coming back to this, I'm going to use this. And here's how I'm going to attach it. This is a nice large page that gives me plenty of room to be able to fit this shape inside of it. So first I'm going to put glue on the front of this. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to glue this to the back area of this section right here, because this is what I'm going to want to utilize. Okay. So I'm going to come just estimating where that would land, and I'm going to glue it on the back. So what you see here is now, okay, the front of this piece of this card, of this pop-out card, is glued to the back of this right here. And now I'm just going to trim it. That way I have it the exact size and shape that it actually is. Now I just noticed something really fun that I did not plan. I promise this is unplanned. But I noticed that this texture here I just chose is almost like a magnified version of this texture on this lizard. I like that because the concept of this pop-out feature is in fact a can be a magnification or looking deeper within. Okay. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put glue on the back of this pop-out card. And I'm going to put down right here, right in between in that spot that I had selected for it. So this is now what it's looking like. It almost looks like this piece was just glued on there just as an additional feature, that's all. But really, it opens up, okay? It opens up. Now, this is where you begin to assign meaning to this feature. Now, for me, something that's become very important that, I discovered in my search for this goal or to accomplish this goal that I have of creating this place, this physical place, which I am working on. I thought it was all about the place. I thought it was all about me wanting to see this vision in reality and be able to invite others there and create this environment and create this place in this community. I thought that's what it was all, what the ultimate goal was for me in this quest. But the other day, as I was thinking about this quest, I realized actually that's not the biggest part of it for me. The investment for me is my health. This is the place where I find myself being able to be my healthiest self. And I say that because my creativity needs a place to live. If I don't allow it to come out and be useful in its most genuine and authentic way, it feels stifled. And when that starts to happen, I noticed it really takes a physical toll on my body. All of these other things I've been doing in my life to try to stay busy, to try to earn money, to, try to make everything work. It's taking a physical toll on my health. And so I realized that for me to be the most authentic and healthiest version of me, this is the place where I can fulfill all of those goals. And so this now is for me going to represent the real, true, and ultimate reason and meaning behind this quest for me. I'm going to open this up and I'm going to write really big the word health. And it happens that that is also my word. Some people choose a word or make a resolution, for the new year, or kind of have a general guiding theme that they want to focus on for the new year. It happens that this is my theme, is health. So I'm just filling it here as big as I can. And I'm enjoying right now how all of these ideas are coming together. Everything is merging together now on my page, all of these concepts. And now I feel it really is complete on many levels, in the form of creativity, in the form of my past and my present and my future, in the form of going deeper and really, really looking into what is the ultimate and truest goal and for my authenticity and for my vision. Okay. All right. I'm going to encourage you, and for those of you who are watching this video by recording, I will encourage you to keep going. And sometimes you might have to set this aside for a day or two so that your ideas continue to develop and you come up with these enlightened moments of realization that you come back to your work to and you get to add. Otherwise, I also encourage you to keep creating And if you get to a point where you feel like you want to share, please email me your images or look on Facebook for where our event is posted in the Heart Art Healing Facebook page, and you're welcome to add your work in the comments. And again, I want to thank you. Let me show my face. This is for anyone who is joining us on video. Thank you for trying our activity, and I hope we can see you next time. Goodbye.